Hello again. Hello again. Welcome back to our show. This is How Was Your Day podcast. I'm your boy Drew, and I'm always joined by the two homies, GQ Nesto. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Smith, CEO. How you doing today?
I'm blessed as always, man. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know, it's holiday season, right? And a lot of times, even before now, finances is a big concern. You know, especially for those of us who have children and stuff like that. We want to go all out for some of us, and spoil our kids a little bit. But you got to be able to do stuff like that, right? So I was just thinking, I got a question for the both of you guys. Like, what is something that all humanity needs other than water, air, and food? What do you think we need to get by, to sustain?
Money.
Money, correct, right? So no matter who, what, when, why, how, the thought of money can bring some form of anxiety to a lot of us. And, we all have questions like, how can I earn more? How can I save more? What can I invest in to allow my money to grow more? You know, how can I secure not only my future, but my family's future financially? And I don't know the answers to these questions, but we have a special guest today, Mr. Cornell Anderson, and he'll be able to shed some light on what we can do to secure our financial future, maybe tips that he's done himself personally he can share with us. So no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome to the show Mr. Anderson. How you doing, Mr. Anderson?
Hey, great, thank you.
Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we dive into this lovely topic.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, thanks for having me on today, and welcome and thank you, everyone. My name's Cornell Anderson, and just to tell you a little bit about myself, grew up in Southern California. After high school, went into the Air Force, then went in to become a budget analyst for the past 12 years, where I overseen approximately $5.5 million of the Air Force money. So the cool thing is I got to see how it was done and basically some of the concepts they did in managing money and to make it work for the government so that I could show and teach us what to do on our end. Thereafter, got out of the Air Force after 12 years and became a financial coach for the last 20 years. I've been helping people develop safe money strategies, save more, make more, and be blessed with more.
So it seems like a very rewarding career. What you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Enjoyed it immensely.
Okay. But before I get into my questions, you guys have any questions y'all would like to start off with? Maybe something that's running on the top of y'all minds right now?
Not yet. But once we get going, I'm sure I'll have some.
All right. Mr. Anderson, I got my first thought or my first question to you is, what in your opinion is the first step a person should take in trying to achieve financial freedom?
Great question. And that's one of the first things I always have when clients come into my office. They'll, show me some numbers, tell me, help me. And I'll say, first, I need to know who you are, what you want out of life. I need to know what your goals are so I can see what that financial freedom looks like for you. Because as you know, each person is an individual, different. They have different goals, different plans. So that's what I sit down and say, hey, what does financial freedom look like for you? What do I need to help you accomplish? Are you looking to travel in so many years, to have X amount of dollars in so many years, to shop till you just can't stop so for so many years, or just do your favorite hobby? So basically, I always say, I need to see it written down what financial freedom look like for you, because it's hard to help someone if we don't know where they really want to go. It's easy to say, I need financial freedom, but financial freedom for us and a billionaire looks totally different. So that's one of the first things I ask people to do is, what does that look like for you? So I can help you to deal with that.
Do you think it's like a little bit of a deterrent? Like maybe people doubt their ability, maybe like age is a big factor. Like somebody might say, oh my gosh, I'm not making it by the time I'm 35. it's too late for me? Do you think there's ever a cutoff of when we can actually achieve this freedom?
Never. And one of the things I tell them is, I just watched a documentary on Warren Buffett, one of the richest billionaires in the world, and he didn't start making his billions until his 50s. Again, until his 50s. So if there's hope for him, we know we can do just as well. That's one of the things I always try and do when I'm talking to folks that say, hey, you have to continue to dream. You have to continue to want more. You have to continue to build. So that's the goal. I always tell folks, if you're open to dreaming, open to wanting more, anything's possible. It just may take some folks longer to get there, and your dream may be, well, may not be as big as others, but we're going to get you to where you need to go or very close to it.
Well, when like thinking about it, like a lot of, for me personally, like I think about my debt, my debt to income ratio. Do you think that that's a big deterrent? What is the easiest way to either eliminate the debt or avoid it in all totality?
When you talk about debt, everyone has debt. It just looks a different way to each person. But first thing I always tell folks is, hey, you have debt. First thing I always say is, let's go ahead and bring in that bank statement if you haven't already written down all your debts. And then I'll tell them, let's figure out what debts we can change, we can tweak. So we'll go line by line. Let's go in. Let's call whatever bills you have. Let's call ATT. Let's call the electric company. Let's call the mortgage company. Every single bill you have, even credit cards, we're going to call. We're going to try and negotiate to reduce. Because a lot of times people don't know they can call and reduce bills. If you call AT&T and say, hey, I can't make this bill, I may have to close this down. Wait, sir. Let's see what we can do to negotiate and put you in a new contract, a new program. So first we look at all the bills, reduce them to what you really need first and get that taken care of. Once you get those needs taken care of and you find that extra money, then you go ahead and start tackling one bill at a time and paying it off.
Okay.
So I got a question. So, I was listening to what you were saying, and obviously, you want to kind of digest the customer or, the friend, whoever you're helping. You want to kind of go in deep to what, wealth is to them, right?
Yes.
Do you ever catch yourself, because like you said, some people believe wealth is a certain way and some others, have a different perspective. But do you ever see yourself correcting a person and saying, hey, look, you should think, bigger? I mean, or do you leave it at where it is? Like, you don't go a little bit deeper on that because obviously they're not going to comprehend, or that's just not their drive.
Great question. Each person is different once I get a feel for who that person is. Because a lot of times when people come into my office, I'll tell folks that, hey, I'm here to help everyone, but they first have to want help for themselves. They first have to be dreamers and open to learning more and doing more. So when they walk in that door, I'll tell them, hey, whatever we go through today, our job is to catapult you to the next level. Where are you wanting to go? What are you wanting to do? But 9 times out of 10, no matter where they are, I'm going to tell them, would you be upset if I got you 30%, 50%, 75% higher? Can you ascertain yourself being there? And half the times they'll look and say, well, no, but if you can get me there, sure, let's do that. So yes, I am all about figuring out where they're at and pushing them and helping them get to the next level.
Okay, so now with that being said, okay, obviously, there's going to be products or there's going to be different programs that are going to at the same time benefit you, right? So
yes.
If a customer is being, or, like I said, whoever the person you're helping with, do you ever have a conflict of, what's going to pay me out more and what's going to help out the person? I mean, is there some sort of, debate that you have to go through in order to be able to do your job, make your money, but at the same time, make somebody else money?
Oh, great question. What I tell clients is, as a broker, I'm basically working with safe money strategies. So my goal is when someone comes in, is I let them know, hey, I work for all 70 companies in the United States. So my goal is to talk to you, find out what your goals and desires are first, and then we shop those 70 companies and build your portfolio because all those companies are going to pay me the exact same. And 9 times out of 10, those companies are going to pay me out of their money because I'm only dealing with top A-rated billion-dollar companies. So they're going to pay me out of their money and it won't affect yours whatsoever because my job is to take care of you first.
Got it.
Smith CEO, you got a question for?
I did, Mr. Anderson. What are your kind of takes and giveaways and your opinion on investing? And like, do you prefer like stock markets? I know right now Bitcoin's a big thing, or cryptocurrency. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, primarily my specialty is safe money products. So when clients come in, I'll tell them, hey, depending on risk tolerance, kind of goes across the board. 50% of the folks will come in and say, Mr. Anderson, I'm in my 30s. I know normally it's a 70-30 that Wall Street says 70% of the folks should be investing in stocks or some sort and 30% should be in bonds. And then I'll have primarily quite a few young ladies come in and say, I don't want any risk, Mr. Anderson. I just want growth without risk. So some of the ones that you mentioned are good, but usually some of the products that we deal with primarily deal with safety, security, and these vehicles basically have no risk whatsoever, but they do average 4 to 6%. Yes, no risk strategy.
Gotcha.
But in that situation, doesn't it kind of, diffuse the whole purpose? Obviously, if you don't risk, you don't win, right? So,
yes and no. Warren Buffett said it best when he said that. He said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna tell you the secret to making money and how I became rich." And the number one thing that he said is a rule of money is he said the first rule is investing is don't lose money. And the second rule is don't forget rule number 1, do not lose money. So it's okay if you're younger to take risks and nothing's wrong with that whatsoever. It's just sometimes I just get a different demographic that just says, Mr. Anderson, I know the most important thing is compound interest. If I don't risk money and if I can get an average of 4 to 6% for so many years, no matter what risk I've taken, my money will double, triple, quadruple, especially when we do it young or at an early age for youngsters and, children, 15, 18, 20. That money will continue to compound and no one can ever slow it down.
Okay. Well, getting back to like the debt thing, do you think that it's important? What do you do first? Do you pay off the debt first before you save, or can you do both at the same time? Because, a lot of people say, a lot of people think, well, why are you saving money when you still have a car note? Or why are you, when you have a credit card bill?
Exactly. And just going right back to that compound effect, if you can take care of your bills, and of course, again, each person's different, but if someone comes in and they're tight, their budget's tight, but they know they have to pay off this debt to really breathe, then I'll say, let's tackle one credit card at a time, one at a time. And as you loosen up and maybe get 40, 50% past paying off most of those credit cards, then go ahead and shave off a little bit and put it in those vehicles that can grow for you, that can get that compound interest. Because the first person you want to pay is obviously yourself. You want to take care of yourself first. And obviously, if your interest rate's 13, 15, 25, 35, you definitely want to take care of that because whatever you earn on the back end is not going to wash out that big interest rate that you have on that credit card.
So what percentage would you say like pay yourself a month?
As far as paying yourself a month, if depending on if you had any debt, but usually when we tell people to pay yourself, if you could, we always tell people on average 30%. And that's paying back into your investment.
I think Shaq does that. Shaq was on YouTube not too long ago and said that was his strategy. First, he originally, when he came into the league, we're talking about Shaquille O'Neal, when he came into the league, he said it was at 30%. That's what he started telling people once he learned that. But now at this point, he saves. He said He's trying to save 75%.
So I heard
But-
75.
Yes.
But that brings another point. Obviously, we have a lot of employers that provide 401ks, right? What are your thoughts about that? And what are the probabilities do you think that someone can become a millionaire off of 401ks? Because I was reading an article the other day, and it was saying that 401k millionaires is at like 1.6% off of 27% of IRA 401k holders. So what are your thoughts on that?
Great question. 401ks aren't what they used to be, and due to taxes, and as you all know, we have a new president. So as it looks, taxes will be going up sometime soon. We just don't know when, and it's just a matter of time. So 401ks are great, and that's why they say diversification is good, because we don't want to put all our money in one basket. Because if we did, you going big or you going home, one or the other. It's not going to go both ways. So the 401ks ultimately can't take you to what they call the promised land, but they do have a new 401k alternative, and that vehicle actually is basically that vehicle is you make 5 payments into that vehicle for 5 years, and you're matched 3-to-1. Let me say that again. This vehicle, you would actually make 5 annual payments, and whatever you put into that account, you're matched by one of the world's largest banks, and they match you $3 to your $1 that you put into that account. And you're done with that retirement vehicle. 5 payments annually, and you're matched 3-to-1, and you're done with that retirement vehicle. And that's an alternative that wealthy people have been using for years, but that's a newer vehicle that just came out about 10 years ago.
Is there anything that you implement sometimes as far as your strategy, your personal strategy, or from your previous experiences and your own your own types of investments and risk, whatever you've done in the past?
Yes, and this was one of them, the 5-to-1 strategy, and the other one is sometimes we use different types of products, like the whole life product, the IUO product, which is the index universal life products, because those usually grow 4 to 6% and they're tax free. So the way to get around paying more is to pay less to Uncle Sam legally, because we want to make sure that whatever money we do have grow for us isn't hit on the back end. So that's what we're trying to do today. Is that's what I specialize in, is safe vehicles, secure, and it's going to be tax free when it's time to pull that money out. So those millions, those thousands that you have accumulated will continue to grow, and Uncle Sam won't be in your pocket indefinitely. That's one of the keys.
Okay. How? Oh, I'm my bad.
Oh, you're good. I'll say, no, Mr. Anderson, correct me if I'm wrong on the index universal life. Also on those, you could pull those out anytime, correct? You don't have to wait until a certain age. 'Cause I believe with like 401ks, you can't touch before a certain age, or you get taxed heavily and you get penalized.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. That's correct, and that's why people are doing the 401ks, or excuse me, the IUOs as an alternative, because you can pull them out in 5, 10, 15, 20, so you are in control of it, and it is going to be grow tax free.
And is that something that you have to set up initially, like, hey, kind of like a CD account? I'm gonna leave this money in here for X amount of years before I can touch it. Is that, or is it your option at any point of the transaction?
Usually depending on how you fund them, but the earliest you can pull those is as early as 3 years. So it's not a long term.
Okay. How important do you think budgeting is? I know, yes, we shouldn't go out and just spend everything that is coming into the household, but do you think that we should track every penny, or should we focus on the big 3, the transportation, the housing, and the food?
Well, it depends on how much you're trying to accumulate in the fastest, because one of the classes I actually had was filling up the holes in your pocket. And folks said, what do you mean filling up the holes in my pocket? Well, just in case you guys have kids, you already know if the kid asks for $5 a week, $5 a month, and then at the end of 10, 20, 30 years, You always hear your parents saying, now, boy, if I could have saved all that money that I gave you for every week allowance for school, I would already be a millionaire. So that concept in itself, that money that could have grown exponentially that you could have saved. So we need to work on saving every penny. You need to know where every dollar goes. You don't have to, micromanage, but you still need to know where it goes and be accountable for it.
Okay. Great response. I like that. Smith CEO, you got anything?
No, man, that's my biggest one. The index universal life is something I was aware of. So I kind of like that strategy. Kind of makes sense to me. I'd rather pay the taxes now than later because everybody knows taxes never go up. Never go down. They always go up. So to me, that'd be the safest way to go, in my opinion.
Right.
Doing research, I understand that creating a passive income is key to financial freedom and success. How important is that in attaining individual success, in your opinion?
Okay, so you're just asking about creating that passive income for financial, and again, it goes back to each and every person. But, I think passive income is very important because you have to have that additional money, and of course, one of my primary things is as I'm saving, as I'm building, I want that passive income, right? Because there's others I can help, others I can bless. And when people make more money, they tend to be a little happier. They tend to have less stress. If you look back at folks that are 60s, 70s, and 80s, we have a book that's called Stress and Rocking Chairs. One of the things that we tell folks is in retirement, when people retire, there's two things that will keep them down, and that's stress, which causes heart attack, stroke, cancer, and there's rocking chairs. They made it, but they don't have any money in the bank, but they're sitting on the front of the house, and they don't have any money in the bank. So what can they do? So a lot of times those two things keep drawing people down and bringing morale down, and sometimes that causes people to have loss of life sooner. So when you got that passive money coming in, you can do more, help more, bless more, and just be a tribute to our society today.
Okay, that sounds good. What is in your opinion, how do you rank? You want to have a diversified portfolio, like you said earlier in the conversation. Is there one that's more important than others? I mean, we're thinking about stocks, bonds, real estate, 401ks. What is the order of preference? I know each individual is different, but maybe what have you done personally? How have you diversified your portfolio?
Right. Well, myself, more real estate. And then, for myself, I'm doing, again, that 5K program I told you guys about because it's matching me 3-to-1. And that is a unique strategy that's only been available for 10 years. But you do have to qualify for it. Only 5% of America can get that product at this time. But one of the products that I've been doing is real estate, more IUL. Again, more safe products that are going to give you a return. Loans market does doesn't go so far, but at the same time, nothing so risky that when I ask my clients what's their risk tolerance, again, most of the half the folks will say I have zero risk tolerance. I want safety, and then some folks will be more aggressive, like a couple of you guys are, and say, "Hey, I want to make more. I got time. I want to make it big, and I want to be done in 5 to 10, and let's make it happen."
Okay.
So I kind of want to get your take on the emotional part of all this, because obviously investments and money, it all comes with emotions. And
Yes.
one thing, obviously, with the pandemic and how everything is being put out there, I mean, a lot of people have lost a lot of money. Some people have made a lot. So there's a big combination of people that were able to capitalize on this tragedy, and then there's some people that lost it all, right? So with that being said, was your game plan adjusted according to the pandemic, or did you have those customers that that were expecting a certain return, but obviously things went the other way and lost a lot of money? How do you maintain that first, how do you maintain that customer calm? And B, what's your strategy to overcome these type of pandemics? Because I mean, obviously we can't just single out COVID. I'm pretty sure there's going to be other stuff, throughout their lives. But in this particular situation with, different administrations coming in, the way things have been going in this country, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. Well, what a lot of clients have been doing is, obviously quite a few people were frozen during the pandemic in the beginning, and then they seen their money. Those who lost that were in 401ks, that's why we can't put our money all in one basket, because those who lost in the 401k, it ultimately came back, but they didn't accumulate all the money they had lost. So thereafter, they came in and said, all right, Mr. Anderson, I'm looking for one of those safe money strategies. And what the safe money strategies do, for example, an annuity, what some of the annuities will do is it has a certain set amount that is going to grow 7% no matter what the market does. 7% growth every year, no risk, no loss whatsoever. And so that's what I'm finding right now. A lot of those folks are doing. But if they're younger, what people have been doing to put their money on the sideline is they've been just doing different types of money market accounts where they can just put it in type of money market cash reserve, where you guys can go online and go to any website and just say, hey, I just want to be a part of this type of product. It's only a money market savings account, and it may get me 2 to 4% until things calm down and I'm able to go back in the market, or unless I just want to retire at this present time and I'm just looking for steady growth and a steady passive check, which is the annuity.
Got it. So as far as strategy, was strategy adapted, or are we talking about just going the conservative level of investing?
Right. So that would be the conservative. So the strategies, the companies I use, they automatically roll your money to a money market account immediately, and it stays in 3 to 4% until the market goes back up. So the companies that I use, they automatically shift the money into a money market safe account where you can't lose a dollar. So that's what people have been doing.
All right, Mr. Anderson, real quick before we let you go, I kind of have a two-part question for you. What should we as parents or as future parents be doing to ensure our children's financial future? And what should we be teaching our children in order for them to understand the importance of financial literacy?
As far as children, again, anytime we're looking to do something for our kids, we want to make sure it's safe, secure, growth, and they have access when they need it. And at the same time, I actually had one client that recently said, Mr. Anderson, I saved, it was a couple $100,000 for my kid to go to UCLA. And they said, my kid actually got accepted on a full scholarship to UCLA, and the vehicle that I had it in was only for his education. So they were happy he got accepted, but now they ticked off because they can't get the money out, and they had $200,000 in the account for the kid.
What you mean
So the kid goes, well, the type of vehicle was an educational product. So what they turned around and did is, because it was an education geared for his education, the kid said, well, look, I got my scholarship, so it's my money, right? Well, the parents wanted to take it back and use it for other purposes, but since it was earmarked for his education, they had to give it to the kid. So they went and bought the kid like a Alfa Romeo, something crazy. They went and bought him a car that he's looking like he's a UCLA student and still don't have a job. But because they earmarked it and didn't have it in the proper vehicle where it grew, but when it was time to pull it out, they had to use it for that schooling. So the reason I use that scenario is because you want to use it in a vehicle like an IUL, something safe that's going to grow and it's going to be tax-free to the kids and they can pull it. But if all things don't work out perfectly and the kid doesn't go to school, get a scholarship, you can pull that money anytime you want and use it to your availability.
That's great, but I was a little concerned about that. But I think you broke it down, but I was about to be a little bit upset. Like, so what happened? It's kind of like I get a bank $200,000 or I save $200,000 in the bank, and they tell me I can't use my own money. That doesn't mean I can't withdraw my money, But
because they earmarked it in his name. Yes, but that's why you want to make sure it's free and clear for you and the children, and it can still grow, because that's one of the things we don't want to put it in a high risk product where it grows exponentially. Kid goes to college, and then boom, right before you pull it, you've lost 20-30%, and then everybody's looking at each other funny.
Guess he's going to community college, you know?
With an Afro-American. All right.
Well, a lot, I guess, that's, perfect example. Always consult a professional.
For sure,
Right?
for sure. Great. That's very useful information. Definitely.
Like I was saying, you touched on it earlier in the conversation, and how a lot of people say, well, I can't really trust what he's saying because I know he's just trying to be paid. And you elaborately explained that, you don't necessarily get paid from the customer's money, but from the business that you are creating for the brokers that you work for, or the organizations that you work with.
That's correct.
So, and then it's also, like I said, like a lot of people feel like, I'm too old to start. So it's too late for me. But as you said, Warren Buffett didn't do it till he was in his 50s. And I don't think there's a time limit on success. So I appreciate your input on today's episode. Before we're coming to the conclusion of our show, before we go, we always open up to the floor to our guests and to our host and co-host. Mr. Anderson, we want to start with you today. Is there something that you want to share with our listeners as we conclude our show?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on once again. And then just remember, the key to retirement or savings is as compound interest. That's one of the things Warren Buffett found first. When he was a kid, I think they said when he was 6 to 7 years old, he learned the effects of compound interest, which goes back to Albert Einstein. That says, for example, if you earn 7% a year, if you divide that by the rule of 72, Albert Einstein theory, it takes 10 years to double your money. So every 10 years, we potentially can double our money. And in different vehicles, we can have tax-free income, and that's the goal. Just never stop that compound interest. That's our goal. Always keep that money growing, even if it's pennies. Start with pennies, then nickels, then dollars, but never stop it from growing.
GQ Nesto, any parting words for our listeners?
For sure. I think this is another example where we can use that saying that I always say: don't be a sheep, be a wolf. I think it's very important that you ask questions. Ask questions. I know a lot of us, we're in the middle of traffic and we're thinking, can I do this? Can I do that? And there's always that fear of losing money and not achieving what you're trying to achieve. But I think that the main thing here is asking questions. If you go and ask questions, and I'm not saying ask questions like go ask your aunt or go ask, whatever. Ask a professional. It's kind of like, you're not going to go to the mechanic and then ask him for advice. You're going to go to a mechanic to get, information about your car, So I think it's definitely important to speak to the proper people and make sure you keep asking.
Smith, CEO.
As always, I just want to thank all the listeners, all of our supporters. Be sure to continue to follow us on all social media platforms, YouTube, like, subscribe. A special thank you today, Mr. Anderson. We want to thank you for your time, taking the time to educate not only us, but all of our listeners out there. I know your time is valuable, so we appreciate it. Real quick for all of our listeners, if they wanted to get in touch with you for maybe some of your services, where are they able to find you as that? How do they go about reaching out to you?
Sure. The best way to reach me at my office number, where you could reach one of my members and we could set up an appointment to talk and answer any more questions you may have, would be 909-203-9113. Again, 909-203-9113. Or you can reach me at Cornell at Anderson Financial Advocates. Again, Cornell at AndersonFinancialAdvocates.com.
Awesome. And once again, Mr. Anderson, from all of us, we thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you
your
so
energy,
much.
And your information that you provided us with today. And as we part, I'll leave the listeners with this. Like you said, you have to start somewhere, and it's never too late. Success doesn't have an age. Success doesn't have a time. But you got to make the effort if you want to see any part of change. But we thank you, we love you, and we see you next time. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.